You check. All right, I call the Transportation Safety Committee November 8th meeting to order. I do recognize that there is quorum. Justin McCullen, chair, and I wanted to go through a roll call attendance. So chair is present. Rain Hoyland. Here. Tom Ryder, absent. Lieutenant McGrath. Here. Rebecca Tarantino, absent. Donna Mullen, absent. Baron McNeely. Here. Gus Gerson. Present. Excellent. So I do see a quorum for our committee going forward. So I think what we can do is also present. Second, just doing a thing here. I normally have a piece of paper here, so we want to also recognize Bob Wilson, who's our technical advisor, is also present, as well as Tyler Gabrowski, who's our admin support for the meetings, also present. Let's go over the minutes. I know the minutes were sent out for last meeting. I wonder if everyone has been able to go over them. Any additions, corrections, notes? Anything we wanted to add on to the minutes? If not, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Abstain for because you were not present. Yes. Any
move to accept the minutes.
Lieutenant McGrath moves to accept the minutes. We'll have a second.
Second.
Second by Baron McNeely. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Noted Gus Gerson as abstention, passed unanimously with one abstention. Excellent. Let's see, other business status report. So if you want to bring us through, Bob, however you want to kind of bring through that spreadsheet as well as the Bond Street. I know we have somebody here who's wanted to get an update on Bond Street as well.
Okay, I'm gonna start with some quick items on the Webster Street at South Street. The RRFB has been installed, but not connected to power as of yet. That was done yesterday, Ryan. So that's
Great.
That's one thing, and a very good thing. Also, I did a follow-up count on Oak Street for the narrowing. The old volumes, and this is from 2020, a few years ago now, were 25 eastbound and 29 westbound. Recently, and the volumes are around 2,800, which are consistent with both cases, kind of makes sense. This time, both directions, and it's strange, but it's close. Both directions were right at 30 miles per hour now. Now, I don't know if there was kind of construction at the doctor's office that might have slowed things down. And a couple of years ago, I thought there was some construction.
By the tracks. That's why I saw you. That's where the tubes.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that might have something to do with it. I mean, they're fine. The speeds are fine, but it's a kind of a quirky thing. I'm still waiting on the High Rock, which is probably a little bit more critical anyway for this purpose, but.
Yeah.
So that's the rundown there. I can go over, and I think everyone has received this. Let's get to the Bond and Falcon issue. Okay, and I'm basically reading this off. I made some observations on October 19th in the morning and in the afternoon during school time. In the morning school time, I observed at the intersection of Bond and Falcon, total number of vehicles was, and this is about in 35 minutes or so, that the 20 vehicles were observed going through the intersection, all points. And 15 pedestrians were noted in that intersection, most of which were crossing Falcon Street from east to west on the north side of Bond Street, closer up toward where the school is. And proceeded to go behind me and turn up Bancroft Street. Behind and turn right on Bancroft to go up toward the school. No bicycles during the morning when I was there, no bicycles were observed. And this is in October. And there were no observable vehicle pedestrian conflicts in the morning now, in the morning. In the afternoon, I was there from like 2 to 3. I observed 90 vehicles throughout the whole intersection, not just on one approach, everywhere. I observed 25 pedestrians. They were crossing not in any particular pattern, they were crossing a little bit of everywhere. I observed 10 bicycles that time, and I did observe one vehicle pedestrian conflict where the bicycle had to wait for the car to go by before it crossed over, so. Overall, I would say, due to the pedestrian crossings in the morning, if there's gonna be a crosswalk across any of those streets there, it should probably be placed on the north side of Falcon at Bond, for people crossing Falcon Street, coming from Bond and Washington further down toward Bancroft. This also may help the pedestrian crossing variances in the afternoon too. If there's a crosswalk out there that they can see, they might tend to use it instead of wandering aimlessly. There were low traffic volumes. I'm not sure, I don't think there would be a warrant for enough volume to warrant another stop sign approach there. The volumes were very, very low.
Yeah.
There are stop signs now.
There is stop signs on one approach now, additional stop signs is what I wanted. And I did notice a slight sight distance issue on Bond Street as you're traveling eastbound. Eastbound now, coming from Washington across Falcon. There was some sight distance problems. It was a little hard to see in, I'm looking left, I believe, down Falcon. I'm pretty sure that was a problem as well. And that's generally what I found out there from my observations. Now, there was no speed study done at this time. There was one done previously. I think we discussed this. I'm not sure if I have it exactly with me right at this moment, but there has been one done previously. And I hope I have it still here. I thought I had it. Where I may not have it right now with me, but the speed study and the volume study indicated that the signage as a place now to stop on Bond Street is still applicable.
One more time, sorry.
So you don't need additional.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
That too, that's what I'm saying, and I just,
I got you, that the volumes aren't, yeah, I get it.
Mr. Chair, just want to mention that the petitioner that brought this issue to the committee is on the call. and
Okay.
Have a raised hand, I don't know.
Sure, let's just see if there's any questions from the committee, but then I'll see if we can promote her, see if we can promote her to a panelist, and then you can hear what she says. So you're looking for other studies. Is there any other, is there any comments from the committee with regard to this?
The town engineer and I talked about it. We
Mhm.
pulled up some maps, some aerials, and discussed some infrastructure changes that we think would be helpful for traffic and pedestrian, and extended that from that block down to the bottom of the hillcrest to remove and install better sidewalks. And to change some configuration to help with traffic speeds.
Mhm.
It's kind of outside of this area, but we looked at it holistically.
Sure.
And so that would be more conversation with Tom Ryder.
Yeah. Okay. Gus, did you have a? Yeah, it's
Is the site, is that the fence? Is that fence?
Tom Ryder is also on the call too. and
Oh, okay.
he Raised his hand, so
Oh,
I'm here if you can hear me.
Yeah.
I don't.
I lost you for a second.
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so, Ryan and I spoke about it, as well as, the intersection improvements and, there may be some opportunities to improve the area for, for our stormwater, and improve traffic flow. So I think we should look at the whole block. And perhaps, we're even talking about like developing some concept plans that may even show like a one, just a one-way location.
Okay.
But, just develop some plans and seeing what we can do to improve that area, because it's the intersection is not, it's kind of offset it quite a bit. You're probably seeing some pictures right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unfortunate geometry.
Yes.
As well as a great.
Apologize for not being there, just still under the weather.
No, I know you're sick, and thank you for dialing in. And just we'll also note that he is present on Zoom for the for our minute taker who's taking it to the tape. Okay, well, let me see if is that the initial participant or initial petitioner
Yes.
on
Carolyn.
we can recognize it. We can recognize her.
Hi, this is Carolyn. Can you see me?
Oh, can we pull, yeah, we can hear you, and I think we're working on getting.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to check in to see what time the engineer was there the morning of the 19th.
7:55 to 8:25.
Okay, that is a little on the late side because the doors open at Mitchell at 8:05. I know I see most people, going through that intersection a bit earlier. We leave our house at 7:45, and that seems to be when there's a higher amount of traffic, which could explain why there were less pedestrians at the time that you were there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, my feeling is obviously we need to figure out something, whether that's through DPW as, going through, as a project. I'm trying to figure out what this committee can do, because we also obviously have a significantly less of a budget, number one, and number two, but we can help to prioritize some things. There was a recommendation possibly of a crosswalk. Was that across Bond at that stop sign? Or where did you, I know on the notes, you had recommended a possible
Across Falcon,
across Falcon. Yes.
Falcon
Yes,
coming.
essentially here.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Falcon and Bond.
Falcon and Bond, would that stop bar need to be pulled back?
Probably, so,
Okay, all right,
yeah, I mean, that's,
Or also
it's just based on the way the pedestrians
Yeah.
are flowing, it's,
Yeah.
I try to put it in the most useful
Yep.
hearing place.
Got it. So on the, oh, that's a different
I think you have.
Google Day.
So are you talking about,
It's a totally different.
That side right there,
Because it's probably in the intersection if you.
where the blue sign is. Tyler across to the, yeah, right there, that's where they were crossing. Yeah,
Oh, okay, I'll cross, oh, I get that, so it is across this. Got it, yeah, you did say across Falcon, that was my dyslexia. Okay. But I don't wanna put a crosswalk up if you guys are gonna be doing, some.
my take on the approach that was brought forward by Ryan and Tom.
Yeah.
The intersection that they were talking about is one block south of where we are here.
Oh, so this is not,
They're not talking necessarily about this
Okay.
exact, because Tom was saying, it's a bigger issue than just this intersection.
okay,
It's,
So, right, so we looked at this with one block next door holistically. How do we improve for pedestrians,
Mhm.
cyclists and cars, also with stormwater runoff?
Yeah. So-
on how to approach it, so we took a little bit broader stroke.
So that's a long-term plan too, as well?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
May I add?
Sure, yes, sure.
If Carol is done, unless you had any other questions.
Karen, did you have anything else to say?
No, go ahead, John.
Just one point of clarification, you're talking about you're looking on the map, or on Google Maps, you see a line of sight, if you go over to the left, that has changed. There's a fence up there now, that house isn't there anymore, and there's trees.
Right.
So, I live at that corner.
Right.
And I cannot make her see.
That,
Making a left turn on
Yes.
Falcon.
that's,
It's this
That's-
small.
You have
fence
to
here.
drive out like 8 feet.
Yeah.
To make
Okay.
a left turn, so.
Yeah.
There's also a yellow line that was put in many years ago.
Yes, the dotted
Right,
dotted line, yeah.
cars do not abide by that line.
Yeah, and that was meant as a guidance. I mean, it's actually a striped yellow line, which may not even be an actual thing under the MUTCD, but it was really about to give guidance that it is a two-way. It's not an actual violation if you go over any of those. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lieutenant, it's a dotted yellow line. It's not
No, I
actual-
get that, but it was put in because there was a problem that hasn't obviously solved the problem.
Sure,
What I observe every day is that either cars go way too fast. Or they get confused, they think it's a four-way stop sign, so they basically slow down to a four-way stop sign.
Right.
That's the reality, and then you compound that with kids crossing there, Carolyn's point. Because it's such a unique intersection, because it's curved, and you got the two hills there, and some of the solutions you're talking about are great, but I feel like, and I know that there was a volume study, and I came in front of this committee a couple of years ago. And I know there was a petition many years before that. I think all of these things won't solve the bigger problem. Because that is such a unique intersection. That without a stop sign, you're not gonna make it much safer. You can put a crosswalk in that's okay, but that's not gonna stop. Trucks from going really fast or getting confused and then thinking it's a four-way stop sign. I get that the volume doesn't permit for a stop sign, but I feel like if you look at all the different parts holistically, you can make an argument for a stop sign. I don't see the downside of it.
sure. So, I don't have a problem because this is more from your kind of observation. Can we ask that? Like a full review of accident history? As well as, because I do know that the manual does allow for unfortunate geometries, sight lines, et cetera. For one of the criteria for possible stop sign, not just the traditional. First section of the stop signs are 3 different criteria. Then there's additional ones which are which I don't think it would hit an excessive accident rate, you know what I mean? But there's those, but there's another clause in there which is actual sight line, and it actually is it presents a challenge. Can we see this intersection gone through that calculus? And that, you know what I mean, and to see if it's something that would meet, because obviously we can't put in something that's not allowable by this manual for uniform traffic control devices, which basically is a United States standard for setting the minimum criteria for traffic controls. So we can't really if we do, then we have to accept the liability if something was to happen, and that sign shouldn't have been up in the beginning, and that opens up, from a risk management perspective. So
Isn't the liability greater that something happens on a four-way stop sign?
if it doesn't meet the criteria, then we have to look at other ways that if it's a speed issue, and I don't know what the last speed study was, I know you were pulling up. If it's a speed issue, then we have to look into other controls, because a stop sign is technically not a speed control device. I know as a byproduct of its installation, people stop, so therefore they're gonna be slowing down to stop, hopefully before they hit. But it's actually it's a right of way indicator. That's really what a tool is meant for, stops and yields. But so we're kind of in a challenge of the reason why it would be put up there is we have to demonstrate.
And the kids crossing.
The right of,
All those things.
it's correct, but do we do other controls such as, narrowing lines? There are other There are other traffic calming measures that can be looked into to see, to see if speed's an issue, we have to see what the latest speed study was. And if we can't find a speed study, maybe we should do a speed study for it.
Does that pick up, does that just take average, or does that pick up going 40 miles an hour and going 5 miles an hour?
So what happens is it'll record everything, and then the report will spit out the 85th percentile. Because that's governing, you can't put a control into somebody goes 100. And if somebody goes 5, it's basically the 85th percentile of all the speeds together is the average speed of what the output of that study would be.
So it doesn't take into account the fact that people might be almost stop it. Which is confusing for.
Oh, I get what you're saying, and. No, because they would be slowing down. Yeah, yes, yes, we have there, out of Oak Street, Oak and Maple, everyone slows and stops, that slows there because they think that Maple, it should be a 4-way. But nonetheless, so a speed study, no, would not show that, or it would affect it. Do we have that number, or you?
I have the figure, it's probably at my desk, I'd probably look.
Do you know how recent that was?
I don't know,
Yeah, like,
I thought.
it wasn't, I think there was one that was supposed to be done after I came back, I don't think it was done, so I think it was several years before that. I could be incorrect, but
I'm not sure myself, I thought it was. Maybe 2019 or 18.
If no one, I mean, let's get an updated study, whether that it is through one of these radar speed signs, if that hopefully we'll get to be purchasing. Or, through that stealth mode, or whether it's the traditional, tubes, let's see if we can get a speed study for that intersection. To see what people are doing coming down, we're into school, we're into, hopefully before snow.
From your observation on vehicle traffic, which is the concern for the speeding through, is it?
it's coming from on Falcon going through this intersection up the hill. And also people can go really fast, making a left on the bottom. Which be very dangerous, particularly like landscaping trucks and things like that.
So it's going straight through.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the stop sign control is on bar.
Right, so wide here. Can we-
I mean, that's like, I completely agree with the petitioner, like, I've always wanted the UTCD to put like an asterisk common sense clause. This intersection has been. I mean, before you, whenever when you drive it, you think the speed, I think originally when this came before this committee, before my time. It was to put stop signs on Falcon, and when they did the study, it was on Bond. So it went opposite of what common sense would dictate, in my opinion. So I agree with you, Justin, I just think with another speed study, we're just gonna come to the same conclusion that it's an odd layout. And if, I just think it would, to expedite, can we put a 4-way stop in would be.
So can we evaluate the criteria for installation of a 4-way stop sign at that intersection? Taking into account the full evaluation of the manual, meaning that, so there's initial 3 bullet points, and then there's a next section down, I can pull it up afterwards, where it does bring in exceptions. And then, we should do it soon, because the 11th edition is coming out in a matter of like a month. It's been supposed to come out for the last, it's the 2009 edition that we're working with right now. But nonetheless, let's just fully see what the evaluation is. I agree that it's
I
not gonna.
believe, if I recall correctly, also. Is that in cases like that, it's up to the engineer's discretion to make that decision.
Okay,
And I'm not sure. Again, I'm becoming my own personal Tony Delgazo here.
sure.
He would say, man, Tony would not, I mean, I'm not him, so
Right.
but I feel that Tony would say. He wouldn't want to take on that liability, not so much personally, but. I think he'd think that was a little shaky, on shaky ground.
Have we ever gone to like, I'm just I'm not
without
trying-
having the exact numbers, he's, you know how, he's got numbers.
I'm not trying to set precedent here, but like, is there any? Either in this town or another town where the town attorney or somebody can. Cause ultimately you're talking about potentially. 2 cars or somebody getting hurt in this intersection, and then a lawyer having the wherewithal to know all that. To now come back at the town to sue the town. Have we ever explored, is there a? Well, going back to my original point, a asterisk common sense clause that would allow, and I know I'm way out of what Tony,
Yeah,
like he's probably spinning right now.
yeah,
But
Is Tom still on? Does he want to opine on this?
he's here,
I'm here.
Tom, I don't mean to give you a heart attack, but is that something we've done?
I think the only thing we've done is, evaluated, for geometric purposes, to say it makes sense to put a stop sign even though the conditions don't warrant it as far as volume. Just because the people are coming into a, blind area. I know some other towns were putting up stop signs where it didn't meet the warrants, and subsequently they've been taking them down because drivers do not like to hit a stop sign when they have obviously the traffic volume going in their direction and just keep stopping and stopping. They just start to ignore them. So that's part of the concern that we have here, is that if you start adding stop signs and people start getting to the feeling that, hey, no one ever comes in this other direction, I'm just going to go right through it. And that happened over the summertime when we had 3 construction projects going on, and we sent detour routes through areas of town that typically didn't see the volume, and suddenly people are not stopping at the stop sign, and there were 3 accidents in 1 month, and they were all because the driver should have stopped. It's bad behavior. So that's the concern we have, is they're going to ignore eventually. So I think what Ryan and I were looking at is like total, taking a look at the layout of the road and see if there's traffic calming measures we can do. That would be improvements. But I'm not. Sorry.
Sorry, Tom. This is Carolyn, the petitioner. As a parent, that's hard to hear, right? Because we're talking about an area really close to an elementary school. We're not talking about, someplace that, someplace else on a detour route, right? We're talking about an area close to a school where the sightlines are really bad, where some cars on Falcon actually do stop because they think it's a 4-way stop or to let the kids cross, and some cars don't. It just becomes a very dangerous situation, especially for our youngest walkers. And it's hard to hear that we're talking about not putting up a stop sign because some drivers might not stop, when we could be protecting these kids by putting up a stop sign.
So, well, first of all, so I think that I want to kick this up to our general counsel. Because it is a risk. There is a risk, and it's borderline of whether it's actually allowable. But I think if we would get an opine from our general counsel, because they're the ones that ultimately hold the risk for the town. And they're the ones that'll make that decision, to say whether, but.
Go into, and like we've done in the past, to not now. Try and open the door where now everybody wants a stop sign, they get a stop sign. I think it would, if it fits, like we were saying, there's certain parameters, that this intersections come before this committee X amount of times. And there's an actual, because of the geometrics, not just because this is a 4-way intersection. Somebody wants
Yes.
4-way stops.
Yes.
This bill would stay within the MUTCD as much.
Yes, and we really, so I think
Yeah.
that, let's do a review. I know that the manual is actually, just today was, the Federal Highway Administration said it's coming very soon. It's imminently going to be restruck. And it's it's all new standards. you know, et cetera, so, yeah, it's, for the most part, I mean, it's all kind of. Not completely radically, but there is significant changes, and, I don't know, if it's just gonna be look and feel, or whether it's that's actual substantive. But that is imminent that it's coming out, I don't know what the. Implementation plan, it might be a year or 2 or 3 before that comes into effect anyway, so. But
But that, sorry, go ahead. No, but that in light, I think we should really look at the geometry too.
Yeah.
If you look at that far side intersect, far side curve there, it induces speed, seem to be too, you know, for turns coming around the corner on
Yeah.
Falcon. And, I mean, and then the offset, I don't know if the offset, the geometric offset of the street, of these 2 streets, let's take 2 Falcon, if that plays any role in us condoning, let's say, or erecting a stop sign, I don't know, because the geometry is somewhat off,
yeah, so let's, I mean,
so let's find out.
yeah, can we make a motion to have, you know, the engineering department, take a look at the geometry of this intersection, take a look at the warrants, look at the current MUTCD, all of the warrants for a stop sign, and you know, come back with a recommendation for, you know, some sort of improvement, both a long term, which is fine. I know that's gonna be integrated with what you and Tom are looking at from a long term, because I think that, you know, we need to have something in the short term. And whether that's, you know, advisory signage or whatever that may be, if there's even, you know, an offset, you know, the little arrow indicator, you know, if we can, you know, do things from an advisory perspective, that would improve this intersection, but really looking at. And then I will also have a conversation with our general counsel about the tolerance of maybe going off piste. If it ends up being that it barely meets the criteria, we can make an argument with at least to see what they would tolerate. So, yeah, that's a long motion, but anyways, seconded by Gus. Any discussion on that?
So what I'm seeing is stop signs on Bond. And this shows one with like a 4-way. Do we have a traffic study showing that Falcon has significantly more traffic
Yes.
than Bond? Is that what's going on here?
Yes.
Is it intuitively, it looks like the stop sign should be, if anything, not a 4-way, but one here. And on Falcon, because it's offset. And that speeding through there, that's a weird geometry, and it's
But
also
that's-
crossing.
Do we think
where
that was put in
the
wrong?
markers are going?
No,
Would that help at
well,
all?
they were put in based on bond. I mean, I don't think there was one out there at all, and then they decided to put the signs after a study with the stop signs where they should go, based on the bond.
Right.
That's it.
I think it's because of the way it's played, like Falcon is the throughway through this neighborhood. And Bond just terminates here. It's not really. You would expect the traffic pattern to come from Brookline going down.
Because Falcon has the higher.
But that's what people are saying is speeding, right?
Yes, yes, so I think, so obviously with the asymmetry, you can't put a 4-way stop sign on the current warrant, is you can't do that when the traffic comes at too much of a variance, it's supposed to be at the equal. That's one of the items, however, there are other clauses that perhaps one of them is with one of them is accident, which I don't think it hits that criteria, and the other one is with the geometry, where it actually would be unsafe, so I
On the
think,
geometry on this, I would flip it, if we can't do a 4, because liability.
yeah.
Would flipping it, would that be helpful? From your observation? Please. Put the stop sign on Falcon. If we could do it.
I found the report, I found the study from 2017, Bob. So
Okay.
Falcon has twice the amount of traffic than Bond. So close to twice. It's about 200 on
Right.
Bond going eastbound. And it's like 424 on Falcon.
Add to your motion that a 4-way is
You get-
advertising.
Yep, thank you. Yeah.
request.
You hear that?
All right, yes. Yes, we did get that. So, basically, yes, if we could evaluate, the motion is that we evaluate the intersection for a four-way stop sign. If, and also at the same time, if we can't qualify for the four-way stop sign, what about the evaluation of flipping the stop sign?
My take on that, again, I'll get back to this.
Mhm.
As far as town council goes, I think I would be more comfortable just making it a four-way
Mhm.
than flipping it.
Mhm.
Because I think
I-
the town council might
There's
have a
more
little
risk
bit
there.
more, little more meat to grab onto if we do it as four than if we do it completely opposite of what the MUTCD recommends on volumes.
Correct. I think we can actually get this on the geometry, and the sight lines. And push it in from that perspective. I agree. I don't think it would qualify for it under traffic and volume. For the four-way, I think it's gonna be the geometry. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, we come to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? So it's unanimous. So, let's try to figure out, what we can do here. Is a month, so the next month, is that the applicable, we can have things studied by and
Yeah.
recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Do you have any, is that something that we can, we'll work, so
Yeah,
we'll
no,
obviously, yeah,
Thank you for,
make a petitioner too, I don't know if she's still on the line.
appreciate it.
Um, So, is there anything else that, you wanted to bring up on the data sheet?
That's it.
Okay. Any other questions about?
This is Carolyn. I have a question about the other intersection that I had talked about, Bancroft and Washington.
Okay. Okay, that's fine, yeah, go ahead.
So I guess what was found there, and are there any outcomes of that study?
I was concentrating on the Bond and Falcon area. I did not happen to go up to the Bancroft in Washington, further up the hill.
Okay, because that one is closer to Mitchell. And again, it's the same situation where there's this stop sign on Bancroft, but not Washington. And there's the same sightline issue on that crossing as well.
Did we do any study on that before? About any previous? on that?
That one I don't
Right.
think so. I don't think I did one up on the top side there.
I think what you'll see with that one, even worse than at the other intersection, is that almost everybody thinks it's a four-way stop sign. I think
Yeah.
it's very.
Similar situation.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth observing.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Carry through, we already voted to do both, so you're just gonna need to carry, just to observe the second one. Okay. And then we'll,
And just for that observation, can we talk a little bit about the timing? Just because, like I said, the doors do open at 8:05. So I think that in order to capture like the full population of pedestrians and vehicles that would be impacted, I would suggest being there between like 7:45 and 8:40, because after the parents drop off, their children, they head home. Oftentimes pushing strollers or walking with younger kids as well. And then in the afternoon, I think it would be reasonable to observe it between 2:20 and 3:10. The first bell rings at 2:43. So you'd be observing, the parents and again, younger siblings walking to school for pickup, and then everyone, coming home from school in the afternoon.
Okay.
thank you for that ad there.
Thank you.
Right, if there isn't any other item, on old
I was-
business, oh,
That's
yeah,
on a different item.
sure, yeah, what?
Bob, just curious on Gould and Kearney.
Yeah.
I know we discussed the stop sign and that issue and all that. But it's like, I go by there quite a bit, and there's always the same car that parks in between the fog line and the sidewalk. It's creating a blind spot as it is. So I was gonna ask, are you thinking of designing no parking on the street?
That has not come up as of yet.
Okay. But I mean, go down there, it seems like it's the same car, and they do have spots that go perpendicular to the street. But there's this one car, and it appears not to be illegal because there's no signage that you can't park there. But that car is, if you were in Canny coming out, yeah, you see the stop sign. But you got this blind spot with the car parked right there, right in the corner. That's it, I just didn't know if no parking was gonna be a consideration in that area.
The pen is being furiously ready. So I think we have, Ms. Dannenberg.
Do you want me to go over here?
You can sit right there, yeah.
Okay. So I live at 131 Locust Lane, which is off of Charles River Street, near the Grove Street intersection. So we're on the very edge of town, second to last street before you're leaving towards Dedham, towards Dover. And the intersection at Grove Street is a little wonky to begin with. Grove Street dead ends at Charles River Street, and there's a split, and nobody knows if they're supposed to be able to go two ways at the split or not. I mean, I think that's just a minor problem, but our biggest issue is the traffic. There's a hill going down Charles River Street from Grove, and the speed it's supposed to be 30, and the speed is easily 40 and over. I looked at your last traffic study, which was just west of Pheasant Landing, which is just before that Grove Street intersection. And it showed that average 85 percentile speed was 39 and 42 miles per hour. And that was in July of 2021, the week after the 4th of July. A lot of people who would have been on vacation, and most people weren't back to the office then. And we just have a ton of commuting traffic that's going westbound, especially in the afternoons, and eastbound in the mornings to get through, between Natick and the highways and all that kind of stuff. So our big concern is that trying to turn from Locust Lane onto Charles River Street is treacherous. It's scary. There are times we look left, you look right, and by the time you look left again, there's a car right there that you couldn't see before. And so I think, yes, looking at sightlines and, seeing if more trees need to be trimmed would be great, but I think the bigger issue is actually the speed coming down that hill. So longer term, I'm wondering if maybe making that intersection with Grove Street or Rotary or something like that, just physically slow the cars down before they come down the hill. A speed radar sign would be fabulous on that hill, so people aren't just coasting down the hill and going even faster. I know it's really easy. I come around that intersection, I'm very aware of it. And I even look down sometimes, and coming down that hill, I'm like, wait, I'm way over 30 and, I hit the brakes, but I think a lot of people just aren't aware. And we did see a couple times over the summer, they were doing traffic stops along Charles River Street, and we really appreciated that, but obviously it's only a drop in the bucket when they can only be there so often. So.
Sure. You stole my thunder. That's who's gonna say, but.
Can I clarify? Is from Winding River to Locust, Charles River, is it 30 or is it 40 miles?
You tell me.
Posted.
So
Not
here-
posted,
Well,
not posted,
Well, so that's. what
not
we get-
posted in Dover,
Right.
it's posted in Dover,
So
it's not
I will-
posted in Needham. So what is the speed on a non-thickly settled area?
So
What is it?
Here's a complication. I believe that regulatory speed limit sign in Dover is technically illegal.
Correct.
And I think.
Because the
so, too.
town was told to take that down. They never did. So it falls to what is known as de facto speed limit, which it's not a thick, the structures need to be for a quarter mile, they need to be less than 200 feet.
For that whole quarter mile.
So
I
if
just-
structures are more than
must
200
know.
feet to each other, it's technically a 40 mile an hour unposted limit.
Right.
That section on the Dover side could potentially have enough houses, because they're fairly,
Sure, you know, so I,
Regardless of what it is.
yeah,
Having done speed enforcement up there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't move the cruiser unless somebody was doing 50. Because that's how easy it was up there. I all day long, I'm pulling people over up there and my threshold was 50 miles an hour. And I was able to do that, no problem.
when you write them a ticket, what are you writing them for? Is the speed limit?
Well, that's what I'm trying to remember. I have been out of control a little bit. I think I was doing it. At third. I don't know, I'd have to go back. I gotta talk to Ed, the motor officer, but.
Yeah.
But if I stop somebody you're doing 40 up there, they'd look at me like, are you kidding me? Cause yeah, they did 50 all day long.
Sure.
So I don't. I mean, that's 17 years of doing it, like, it's been. I don't know how to it's gonna have to be an educational. There's gonna be, we gotta get creative up there.
Yes, whatever we end up doing, yeah, you have to.
I think we have to get as creative as we did on Dedham Avenue. Using some new warrants, new statewide warrant stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't think there's not a quick fix.
I don't think it's a quick fix either.
And like, to the
But the-
commissioner's
but the
point, I
speed-
appreciate and recognize that we try and send people up there, but it's. Yeah, as soon as you leave, it's right back to.
Yeah, because I think there's actually, and I think it was Eddie who was telling me before that at one point, some members of the DPW had told him that there's a certain section of Charles River in Needham that's 40 miles an hour. Because the structures are more than 200 feet.
Which
apart
part
from
is
the
it? I
40
think the one where the.
But it's not- I don't think it's where- where she-
No, it's not down there. Once you get past Locust, at 30 you can, is easy.
Right,
Typically the enforcement isn't there because it's hard to set up there.
yes.
And people actually are slower in that section compared to the straightaway.
Yes.
I know these aren't great answers, I'm saying, and all the problems that exist, and I'm agreeing with the problems, I just don't know what the fix, I don't know what the fix is.
So. Forever, the standards for MassDOT or that govern us as a body, as a municipalities for the procedures for speed zone, state municipal roads, 2012. So it starts off that the school zones 20, thickly settled 30. Non-thickly settled zones, residential are 40.
Yeah.
And then, highways 50 and up. So that's part of the problem we grapple with. And however, the state has, in the last 2 years, have changed from this. It's always been this way, and this was updated 2012. So it gives the municipalities, as we're aware, Mr. Chair, and we're starting to do, the ability to petition the state for it to drop it below 40. Because if we posted it, we should be at 40. And then everybody's gonna keep 50. So that's the problem we all face, so we chose not to post. But we could do some.
We have to verify, is that petition, because I think that petition was only for. It was. I have to. It's because you're not talking about going under the 53, 51A, which is the.
It's the one I had to pull it up to do.
I had a thought for if possible.
Jackie DeWolf brought it to the, that was done during COVID. A lot of us weren't aware, there was no education, and through our organization, one of them on the board of directors, doing the mass education for all municipalities, basically. And so it didn't even get vetted through that, but it is in play.
Okay,
So we're aware of it now, and so we have to look at that document, so we have more flexibility on how to post this based on. Some of it's engineering. Sure, so it's not all emotional. So
of course, yeah.
Bob's reading it now, so as we go forward, those are the things we could look at. As far as if we go to the rotary or the roundabout at Grove Street. That intersection is treacherous, and I think geometric improvements that one should be pushed up. And if we can get a circular pattern, similar to the one on Wellesley on 135, I go through it all day long.
Yeah.
It works, and it will slow traffic down and process traffic, I think much safer. Right here.
Yeah, agreed.
The telephone poles, you know. That's a pretty, there's enough real estate here.
Yeah.
And that will break Charles River without, you can't put stop signs there, you can't.
Right,
It will just, by de facto, as people cruise through, they'll slow down. And everybody speeds down towards, say, at the evening, I do if I'm going South Natick, and then you stop at the stop sign on the traffic light anyway. So our society, it's a societal problem, it's part of it. So we have to structurally try to do these. The speed radar signs, I think, are effective.
Yes.
We're getting more of those. We could put them up from what the petitioner said, if the committee says.
Yep.
In short time to start immediate steps if the committee so desires.
Yep.
But that is a horrible intersection.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that's where I was gonna come back to.
Yeah.
I think we did the speed radar signs and set them to 30. And then with the, can we do the red and blue, or is that not allowed anymore? But anyway.
You can't.
But if we set it,
if
well, so if we set it at 30 and you get it coming into Dover and you get it further back here, the only problem we tried that, and the issue we ran into is the solar. It's all, it doesn't get much sunlight up there.
Right.
We're getting double battery packs that go 2 weeks with spare batteries, so within 2 weeks. On a maintenance level, if we kept it there or move them around, we'll keep them active, because we'll have spare batteries ready to go.
So, I mean, the advantage of that is you can move them and then.
Put them in dark
But if we
areas,
can roll it
doesn't
out
matter.
there, that would be perfect, 'cause people probably don't realize they're doing 50.
No, but the issue is, can you put a speed placard underneath that? To say, you know, your speed is what?
Well, that's
But
what
you
I'm
actually,
saying,
you can put a
Cautionary
yellow, you can put a yellow
Yes.
one that says 30 miles an hour.
This stops like the sheriff in town saying it's 10 miles an hour and I'm gonna ticket everybody who comes through my town.
Yeah.
That's what this core is about, so that we have guidance.
Yeah, no, agreed, but we could definitely put a yellow.
Yellow,
A yellow advisory 30 miles an hour underneath your
Yeah.
speed, because you're putting an advisory which is lower than the de facto or statutory.
And I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
So it's not enforceable.
Correct, but at least it'll give somebody the.
Yes.
And the point of these, we're trying to get the battery operated ones was no one. As you know, no one on Central goes 25 by Elliott anymore for the last 10 years, because it's been there always. You know what I mean? And so you get fatigue. You know, you always see the little flashing one. So the point of getting ones that you can move around, you can move them around town. And then, so you always kind of keep the. So that's where we're going to talk about funding in a minute for that, but so I think by doing the radar scene speed sign, I think it's a perfect candidate. And when I thought about trying to petition to get this was one of the roads, because I've actually spoken to Andrew before about this road. So that was one of the candidates. It's a straightaway. It's.
We went up there.
What's that?
We went up there, there's some radar.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's when I thought Artie Crocker. What do you? Anyway, so. Yeah, so I think that for a speed sign perspective, but then also, let's look at this road, improvements here. I think we need to figure out where on the long-term prioritization, but I think this is one of those ones that is. It is an issue. And from long-term geometric improvements.
I think I think the petitioner articulated exactly what we all know. We didn't put 40 because people do 50, but we have mechanisms now to address it. And the solutions are basically, I would concur with, basically, these are the solutions, but some of them are long-term.
Yeah.
But what can we do short-term? So radar, get some paint in the spring, some other ideas that the committee can.
And I think we can do a couple advisory speed signs, that we can put up. You're not gonna, it doesn't affect you in terms of what you guys can write a ticket for. But at least putting up the yellow signs at a couple places there at whatever we end up finding is an appropriate number, because we have to research and figure out.
Yeah, because
We have to get tape measures
it's
between.
fine line.
We have to pull out a tape
Yeah.
measure between each structure. And find out what we're doing. So I think that's, so we'll I don't think we need to entertain a motion because we're doing the radar speed sign. that's gonna be done separate. That'll just be done ad hoc.
We need one for the, like a permanent,
Oh, for advisory sign?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would go,
so I'll move to put up 30 mile per hour advisory signs. Where engineering finds fit between Locust and the Dover line on Charles River.
I second that. Move to discussion. Forgot about it. To discussion.
Two questions, no, not so much a question. When is pavement markings coming up? Another, and because what I'm looking here is, I'm just wondering, narrowing lanes. I don't know if that's an option. I don't know if that's, there's a probably truck, no, I don't know what they are, but.
I think this committee has always been in favor of trying to tighten lanes, because what we find, it drops it a few miles, anything lower is better. What we do is after we, surface street or road, it's a clean slate. We
Right.
tend to do it.
Cause this you gotta grind it
We have
down.
to
Oh, no,
grind
no,
it down, it wrecks the road, it looks horrible.
Oh, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
no, I'm not suggesting taking them down. I'm suggesting when they get repainted,
Oh, yes,
because you probably have an annual painting contract.
we do.
And I'm wondering if that's maybe, I don't know when that's coming up for this particular section.
It was just done.
Oh,
Are we doing it twice a year in latex? What I asked our staff to do, but it just didn't happen, was also on the state level, those are 4 inch, is to go to 6 inch. It helps guidance as far as in the dark, so it's not really a speed thing, because that's tightening. But to have better guidance for people, none of us want to see somebody go off the road, they drift, everybody's on the phone. It just helps in towns that have used it, and I drive through, it doesn't sound like a big thing, but
No,
it's just huge.
Oh, yeah.
And
And
as a safety, but that's
Yeah,
more of a.
and that's
safety
four
measure.
more inches of narrowing on a
So
road
we'll-
technically, if you're doing a thicker strip.
Yes, so we'll do those on
Yeah.
the next round, that'll come in the spring, late April.
So,
yeah, okay, something to consider. And then again, I think the other thing that somebody else mentioned already before, I think looking at this, just looking at it, the alignment. And the geometry lends itself for a roundabout in this spot, I think.
oh, yes, I think that's actually, that's gonna be on
Really,
the list for,
yeah, I think so, if that's a possibility, but that's megabucks. Or, yeah, to get that long term.
but that's something we could put into, I mean, there's a 5-year budget cycle, so it's
Sure.
one of those things where, and then we can reprioritize.
It may be the town, for cost and speed, tees it, press tee it.
Yeah.
And doesn't have these two legs if the poles, I think we could do that as a first step.
Yeah.
And then long term would be the roundabout.
Oh, yeah, but there's a lot of stuff I know.
Seven, based on our capital, 70 years out,
Yeah.
but that's long term, but we could tee this sooner than that.
Yeah,
Within a couple, 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
So any more discussion? So we have the motion on the table, we'll come to a vote, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, passing for that, so at least we'll do some advisory speed signage. Hopefully that will help, and then we'll figure out what we can do from a speed sign, radar speed signs.
One thing I do want to say is, the motion was to put the advisory signs between Locust and, the Dover line. And my issue actually coming from Locust. The traffic coming from Dover, we have very good sightlines. It's the traffic coming down the hill from this intersection that is the issue for us, coming off Locust Lane, making the left turn. So and that's where the hill is I don't know if you can turn the image so that you're on Charles River instead of on Grove. So if you make, right here, this is a significant hill here, and so the traffic's coming down that hill very fast to Locust Lane, which is up past this car, and then continuing on to the Dover line.
If you go a little further down, is there where we don't have to involve the abutter? Is there a spot? Like right here,
Yeah,
Between
you've
two
got
lines,
like
Like
four
between
more
the two
houses
property
before
lines?
Locust.
so in here, it's,
between two lines, yeah, as long as you're, yes,
you can do a regulatory one here at 30.
well, I don't know if we can do a regulatory, that's the thing, whether we can do advisory.
We can do advisory.
Yeah, the regulatory is the aspect of.
Right. I didn't know if we were close enough to the housing where I
What we
go.
can-
we don't know what we can do, that's the thing, if we go through this process and.
Changes. that-
And we can actually officially lower it down with the state and get the, the blessing of the state and kiss the ring, go through that
It's
process.
enforceable.
So I just amend my motion to make it, instead of locust the endpoint, make grove the endpoint.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have so this would be, well, the motion's already been voted on, so it wouldn't be amended, this would be a new motion then to strike the previous motion, but then to.
Or a new motion would be to add a regulatory speed sign. Between
Advisory.
Grove, advisory speed sign between Grove Street and Locust on Charles River.
Yes, okay. So I will second that. Any discussion?
Is there needs further up from the observation? Cause you live there, is there? If this is one location, it's gonna go in, is there need further up for others?
I mean, that whole curve up, by Ridge Hill Reservation. Is just really bad, because everybody goes way too fast through there. But you have the curve, so people are generally slowing down a bit. I think for us, the real issue is coming down this hill.
Is there any profile signage on that road, meaning do you see the arrows that indicate that the curve?
There are.
Okay,
Yeah, I think there are.
okay. So. For right now, how about we do this? We have the motion, to put one, between those two streets.
Yes, so this is the intersection.
This
here
is-
with
yeah,
Locust.
yeah. Any other discussion?
Just a point of clarification,
Yeah.
should we do both sides
Yes,
as it comes up to the road we want to?
yeah, both sides, because this road is.
Okay.
So, without any discussion, we come to a vote, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So we have unanimously. Passed, so we'll do some speed signage, when we get the radar speed signs that we could purchase, this is one of the streets that we'll be putting into the rotation. Probably a couple of times, I foresee the program is a couple times a year, particularly these higher risk areas, okay. Great, thank you. And we come to our next item. Yeah.
What is the difference between an advisory speed sign and a revenue?
So the advisory ones are yellow. And where it says like yellow, it's 30 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour. Don't tell a lot of people this, you can't be actually written for a ticket by exceeding that limit. Right, no, the only ones, you can get written for are the black and white ones. So whatever is written, so a lot of signs you'll see, sometimes in the Ahoy, you'll see, 25, 30, 25. But the actual speed limit is 30, so you can't be written a citation unless you're going over the regulatory speed limit. Or the de facto speed limit of a thickly settled unmarked area, which is most of Needham, with the exception of a little bit of traveling. Some areas of Greendale is 30. Because, yeah, it's. So, yeah, so.
Then I was thinking about the speed.
So you guys are, you're
Okay, I just.
you can see, you can come and sit there, or you can whatever you feel comfortable.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, I'm Meredith. We have a crosswalk at Stockdale Road, crossing Great Plain over to the Olin area. This is, you can kind of see it. You've got your warning. This is going into Wellesley, so coming from town, you can see the warning sign. You can almost see the actual sign where the crosswalk is. It's a second yellow sign, but we do have trees that block it.
Yeah.
I noticed that happens in both directions, but the bigger issue is everyone is hightailing it out of Needham or hightailing it in from Wellesley. And even me, who lives on Stockdale Road, sometimes forgets a crosswalk there because it's just pops up on you. It's not super visible, even with the beautiful new double-sided signs and warning signs that are coming. There's like a bigger issue. On the road, you don't see that it's a crosswalk. We have this little yellow thing here that I think states don't drive on this, right? But if you go up
Well, this
further,
is one intersection earlier, so the crosswalk.
That's
is
Mayflower.
actually On the other side of Mayflower.
So I have your other pictures here, I don't know.
that's, okay, so that's a little closer to Stockdale. That looks like it's being taken from Mayflower. And if you're approaching this crosswalk to turn left on Stockdale, you've got that yellow, you can't, not a great picture, sorry. The yellow lines,
I can, I have your videos, I could use Google.
you can do all of it. Google might show the yellow lines and what that seems to do.
Ultimately, the request is. You have individuals, both adults like walking dogs or children trying to cross on bike or feet. They are waiting there on the corner and cars are coming so fast in both directions, they're just continuing to wait. If the crosswalk sign was upgraded to the kind that you could press a button and it would flash to indicate there was an active walker there. We think would be very helpful to protect the pedestrians that are trying to cross.
So, yeah, the ultimate goal will be a push to walk, because you mentioned something about fatigue with something that's always light up, that doesn't
Oh,
work,
yeah.
you forget. So having, just like the one on North Hill, which I think Nick Totar is the one who got both of these crosswalks put in place many years ago. And sorry, he can't be here tonight. But the goal was, now that there is a crosswalk here, we've got a lot of pedestrians with a false sense of security that it's safe for them to walk, and we can share the videos, which is like any time of day, this is your situation. This is like a random Saturday that I took these videos when it's not literally a high traffic time. But I do want to make sure we get back to these yellow lines there as you're turning on Stockdale coming from town, because they also pose a little bit of an issue too.
You're talking about these.
Yeah, and the other, right by the crosswalk, because if somebody's waiting to turn on Stockdale, other cars will try and like get around, or some people use that as a turn lane. And I don't think that's the purpose. And if you look now, you see this crosswalk is not greatly marked. You can't visually see it. It kind of like blends in
Mhm.
with the yellow lines.
Yep.
So also painting that with the big fat lines would also be helpful as well. But if you want to share the videos, Tyler.
Yeah,
that
I'm
would be
trying
great.
to open it, it's telling me I don't have the right codec.
Okay,
So I think it's the type of video it is.
it was on my phone, which I have here, but really what it shows you coming from either from the Olin side to
Mhm.
Stockdale or from the Stockdale side to Olin. You can be standing there with two big dogs and your friend, and 5 cars will pass you. They just don't see you. They're not in tune until it's too late. And it happens every time, even to, I think, so many of my neighbors have shared. Yeah, I do it all the time, and it's like too late. I know there's a crosswalk coming, and then I forget because it's visually not in my face. So yeah, we're looking for the push to walk lights, stripes on the road. Something about those yellow lines though, because cars are using it to turn in, and then other cars would go around. If there was a pedestrian, I don't know what you think about that. And maybe even because we are Stockdale Road, at the end of it is that water, what is that? The Needham water shed thing where we've got public works down there all the time. Maybe I've seen them on the yellow using it as a turn lane, so like everyone's doing it. So you've got cars coming up behind you and actually they stop because they saw a pedestrian, but they're in the yellow lane. The other cars are gonna pass
Sure.
them on the right.
And this is right at a 35-mile-an-hour posted regulatory limit, which is at the high end for cross, just an uncontrolled crosswalk.
That's pretty disturbing to hear that people do that. That's
Yeah.
the problem, part of our committee is a cultural thing. But I go back to the Webster Street fatalities,
Yeah.
which is in part happened, people went to jail for that, people mourned it, and other people, I don't think they just forgot about how to have good behavior. And so that's a whole other thing that we can't do, that's part of the educational, but if somebody's using that, we all know that that's a divider to separate and control. And if they're using it as a train, like coming into Stockdale, those are local residents that are misbehaving usually. or delivery people, but, or
Yeah.
whoever.
all of it.
What a lot of towns do, but I, as highway superintendent, I don't wanna keep throwing out big capital projects. But is to have sloped granite and other devices, so it's protected for pedestrian and controls traffic. And it's sad that we may have to, consider that because of the bad behaviors.
Well, and even, I think even a shorter solution, I know it's gonna be a nightmare for the snow removal. But, putting those, yeah, you know, I'm going with it, putting those poles, just putting, the ones. You're not gonna be able to plow in there, it'll just be snow and ice that will creep in there. But, you could put the yellow ones up, reflective, highly reflective yellow, poles. That would at least create a barrier so that, it would force the cars to stay in the right of way, and travel in. And actually enter the intersection and, properly take that left. And also decrease the ability for someone to turn around, or pass, which at 35 miles an hour, it's. So here, yeah,
That's a good idea.
yeah, okay, so, officer, lieutenant, are they in the crosswalk?
They are,
They are in the crosswalk.
however,
They haven't started.
they're not,
They got.
the opposing lane is not a
Yes,
violation.
you're right.
Yes.
A nuance, unfortunately, it's nothing to do with the crosswalk. It's a state law. This is what makes crosswalk violations so hard to enforce. Technically, okay, you're in the
That guy's gonna
crosswalk.
take it.
So the cars on your side have to stop, but the cars on the other side are not legally obligated to stop unless you're within 10 feet of the center line of the intersection.
Oh, wow.
And if you're on the pad, if you're on the little, there's no pad there, but if you're on the, right on the curb, there is no obligation for anyone to actually stop.
And we don't teach our kids to stay.
I know.
Right, that's the safest
And
thing,
you're
it makes no sense.
I know I get to run.
There's no obligation. If you press the button, cars are legally, they can continue to go through because you're not in the crosswalk. The law is written, you have to be in the crosswalk. All the
But
lights
at
are
least
doing,
the light,
it gives an attention that there
Yeah.
might be someone there and they
Yeah.
probably should still, and the good citizens are the ones that are, the good drivers are the ones that are slow down.
the crosswalk, like 4 intersections up that has the flashing lights, like. I mean, that's where people stop because when the
Yes.
kids are crossing. they're
It
pressing-
is effective, but it's one of these nuances that
Yeah.
just because someone,
Yeah.
that's why we always tell the kids. If you press it, it doesn't mean that they're gonna stop you, so you still have to then.
Yeah. I agree.
Look and
Yeah.
see if they're gonna slow down and all that stuff. But, I don't know, and those, first of all, I don't know where we are in terms of, if we have any. RRFPs that are on a shelf. Right, okay. And those are. Those are pricey in the middle of the budget year.
And we,
If it has good solar, it's 20, I think they're up to about 27, 28.
Yeah.
For solar, if it's hardwired, it goes up from there, but
I think there's probably,
power right there. So it might
there is
be
power, yeah.
35.
we did talk to Olin College, they're supportive, their operations department is supportive.
That's something also that you potentially could be talked to. And then see if there's any sort of, they want to go in halfway.
Practical question, I presume this is town-owned road? And not state route?
Oh, it's town.
It is town, yeah, okay. Just make sure.
So, I mean, immediately, sure, the continental stripes, that's no problem, but that, as crosswalks are being redone, the continental stripe is what the town has adopted to go. To use as their normal, that's why you see
Yeah.
The wide hash,
the
Yeah.
black hash, so that can be, we can make that motion to have that done at some point when they do. Unfortunately, probably most of these contractors, and you can correct me, Ring, are not doing orders right now because of, they're slow and behind, that's why we still have High Rocks being done tonight. But I don't know whether they could do anything before winter or whether it's spring for refreshing that crosswalk. What do we think?
They're still going with some of the epoxies. It's really too cold, but we would do this, but I don't think we'll be able to get this until spring because they're gonna have to grind. I would recommend to the group that we grind off the 2 parallels and put in our Continental, which are 2 feet wide, 10 feet long, 2 foot space. That's recognized internationally as one of the best. It's also on the Abbey Road Beatles album way back. So this has been in play since that's
Well,
60.
that's-
And we actually have the 2 foot wide, 2 foot space, which is on the Abbey Road one. Everybody has little deviations, but it's known internationally as the highest, one of the best for visibility. So we put that here.
Those, are those crosswalk lines 12 inches?
Yes,
Really? Because it look the same and it looks, on the
Yeah.
right looks 8.
yes, this is run.
Yeah.
So that's why with the bars
Yeah,
going
you
this
see
way,
that.
you really
Oh, to
see
see
it
that, the 12
versus,
yes.
right?
I mean, I don't know where we are in the process. I know we're about to spend some money tonight, but. I think this would be a good site for RFPs. And I think that, we could evaluate for the type of RFP. Whether it's solar, we could figure that out, because I think that would be the cheaper solution, the better, But I think doing RFPs continental, and I'm an advocate for doing the yellow poles, set up to kind of. But, I leave that up to the DPW to see if the recommendation for that, because you guys gotta clean the snow up around the street, so.
The stanchions?
The stanchions, yeah, the ones that are bolted in the ground.
Yeah, well, you can take those off, actually, right? In winter.
The ones we're using, they're actually an adhesive, special adhesive, so we torch it to the ground and stick it on. So it's not easy to move them. You can dislocate, but the little pad would be there, right? It's just annoying and off. It's pops out, it chops it off.
Sure.
But, because it's, with the safety, that's low hanging fruit that we could put up. We actually have some in stock.
Would you do it on both approaches?
I think so, both problematic.
They are, because as I mentioned, people are zooming out of Needham, because they're like, okay, we're at like the end of all the houses practically. There's
So-
only one more street.
So.
I mean, the yellow stanchions.
Oh,
Yeah.
both
I don't
ways.
Need them on
It's on the
both
other-
sides,
it's
if
not on the
somebody's
other side of the
taking a
street.
right, slowing down,
It's
people
there.
don't go,
No, it's not,
And those
No,
people
it's
take.
there, but it's not necessary there, I don't think. But I'm
mostly
not-
just.
leaving Needham, not coming into
Got it,
Needham.
okay,
correct.
okay.
They need, yeah, coming out of Needham, it would be helpful. Definitely.
It is there, but I think that the pattern, though, you're not gonna have somebody passing
Correct.
a car that's taking a right there, okay, all right, because
I haven't
we're
seen
really
that.
trying to protect the crosswalk, that's, okay.
So,
So, but is the visibility an issue or the adherence to the signs an issue? Because I'm just wondering now, if you put an advanced pedestrian sign in, would that help?
we should have one.
I think that was
I
put
think
in
there is
last
Yeah.
month, I think
Yeah,
that was.
that's.
So we do have the advance on both sides, yeah.
So that's maybe a picture that I sent to you that shows now that the signs are double-sided and the warning signs that a crosswalk's coming up that
Nobody cares.
so if you look at this is me probably closer to Mary Chilton.
Yeah.
I'm past Pilgrim. Yeah, that's Pilgrim Road. So you can see the warning sign. There's a crosswalk coming up, and then if you look up ahead, coming from this direction from Wellesley, you can see without trees blocking it, that's where the crosswalk is. But the other direction, the trees are in the way. You can't actually see the real crosswalk sign.
Because that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, I believe that's Olin's property. but-
Yes.
And so we can contact them.
yeah, and see if
They'll do it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've been in touch with Jeremy Goodman, head of building and operations. And
Yeah.
they're in.
So did you talk about trimming?
Not about
I didn't talk about the trees.
If you're already communicating with them and have that going, would you ask them to trim those?
Yes.
I could ask. Give them a call.
They're terrific. So if you're already in communication, they'll trim that. That's a safety situation. It's their tree.
No problem.
Perfect.
All right, so I think. I'd like to make a motion. That we. Put. I think the town should restrike when weather and when that allows, probably in the spring, to be fair. Because of the, I guess, what we're, it's too cold. That crosswalk and upgrade that to a continental, I'd probably do both. The one across as well as the one across Stockdale, they're the two both crosswalks. also with, implementing the yellow stanchions to, on the center line to create an island, if you will, to create a, I don't know, what do you call that? I'm just trying to think, because it's not an area of refuge, because it's just, basically, we're putting the stanchions, what is it?
Shoulder?
Yeah, we're putting the stanchions to create a middle shoulder. And then, I think we need to upgrade to RFPs, but we need to evaluate whether there's enough solar in there and then, but that can be in the queue. So those three things. Seconded by Gus. Any discussion on the matter? No discussion. Then all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Noted. Yeah, we pass it unanimously. So hopefully we can do something to, yeah, improve. I know it's not like immediate,
Well,
but.
thank you very much.
But obviously, and then if you wanted to work with, Olin with regards to cutting the tree down, because I did notice that.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Thank you. Do I, they be in touch with you to say what they're up to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Cool. And then also wanted to take a look at additional exit lane at Newman. We wanted to kind of talk about that. I wanted to mention one thing that I probably should have done with this, but it was, first of all, by the way, thank you for putting the barrier up at the crosswalk in town by the church. I know somebody already hit it. One thing that I would recommend is, maybe to move it, but I would recommend a higher visibility on the actual, because you can't see it at night. All you see is this floating sign, the reflective, stanchion sign, but you don't actually see the barrier at night. And you know what I mean? Or so maybe just some sort of chevron, chevron stripe, applied to it. So the headlights will pick it up.
Yes, absolutely. We have talked about it internally. It hasn't done yet. We should do it on all of them. Brighten them up.
Yeah, no, agreed.
So,
yeah.
We'll figure out how to pick up the materials. Hopefully it's just a peel.
Yeah, I think
Or whatever, just to get that chevron and have it reflectivity in the evening, bad weather.
Yeah.
Also, I've talked to the staff about putting the LED, which was the recommendation from TCS. TSC, so they got back to me and said they've tried it before, and the weight, because the batteries on those plastic barrels, even they reinforce it with metal strappings.
Yeah.
The wind tends to rock it, and then it breaks off of the plastic. So I said, okay, so that's a problem. The solution is, do we go metal, get some metal, or look at small concrete, paint those, or look at better bracketing? So we gotta engineer something. We gotta come up with a solution so that we can fix that problem.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that can be internal. I mean, that doesn't even, come from us, because you guys would be the.
So we held off relocating the sign.
I got what you're saying. I did notice that. And that sign that you put on there, the one from the stanchions, I think it's effective, you know what I mean, or whatever too, but,
Yeah, but
and
adding
even if
more
you can't,
reflectivity, I'm not gonna-
if you did the blinking ones, can't that just be put on in the current locations? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, that was a question we wanted to talk here,
Okay.
because what our conversation was to move it to the barrels like the other ones.
right,
So once they did that, we put it on hold, so let's go and we'll have a conversation at this meeting to see what the group thought. The other idea, I could stick it in the ground, but I'm not so sure I wanna anchor it inside the roadway.
no. I mean, we could hear from others, but I think that the actual, the one that's on the stanchion or the barrier now is fine. And then you could replace the ones that were there with the solar ones, and that's on the, I think one of them's the telephone pole.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is yours. And then, and the other
I'll
one,
have them stick it on.
Yeah.
Put it proper, get it off the telephone pole.
Yeah.
Stick it in front.
I think that's fine. And I don't think that needs to come, but anyone else, please.
Good.
Right. And then I think that at some point. We should evaluate it in the spring, but in front of Blue. That crosswalk there, we're in the same situation where because of that parked car. I don't think we can get away with right now removing a space, but, A, I think that's too close to the crosswalk anyways, but B, having a barrier in front of that space. Too, so that somebody can come out and feel more safer to, because it's the approach going out of town. That, that's another high risk area, but as long as we're starting to look at that, but nonetheless, that's just something that, kind of put on the plate. But if you want to kind of bring us through, Newman.
In 2020, Beta did a study of traffic, from the, Great Plain Ave, Central Ave intersection to the RTS. The cars were backing up well beyond the RTS in the morning. Down to the horse farm, sometimes even past that. They did the study, we, as a check, we finally went back to the study, got a copy and changed the timing at Great Plain and Central. The previous timing is about 30 seconds each way, so Great Plain 30 seconds. And Central, the recommendation from the engineering firm was on Central Avenue to do a dynamic 10-second interval. So if the loops pick up cars, it adds 10. They keep picking up cars, they add 10 up to 70 seconds. So we did the max recommendation. Our observation is Central Ave traffic backups are significantly less. It even has a packed evening commute so that when I drive it on the Hoyden, I can take a left turn. Because the cars are only back to about Dwight School.
Yes.
So you can get out, and in Forest Street, now you can come down, it's not choked. Bottleneck, you can take a right turn and flow. A little bit of backup at Forest Street towards West Street, but not bad. And all the way to Honeywell was fine and operating. So I think that solved a huge problem, and backing up to Newman School, which is a disaster at when they come into school and get out of school, people getting frustrated, jumping down side streets. I think a lot of that has been solved with simple timing change.
Yep.
And then the next look was how can we better improve and reduce the wait time for people getting out of the Newman. The police have done a great job. We've talked to them, we've talked to Kelly as well.
Yeah.
And so she's talking to the crossing guard. So to time it, maybe hold the kids back a little bit, fill up that Central Ave to its and how they're operating with the new signal timing. It's working phenomenally well.
They're doing well. Yeah.
Yeah, so the next leg is when we look at coming out of the driveway. About 15 years ago, we put an island in it. And so, and it pushed. So we put that island in, that's just wide open. And so at some point, it's not quite a two-way exit here. And the thought was, should we create we can add about 6 or 7 feet to the width easily, push that ramp back and have a turning lane that would support bus turning movements. So they wouldn't be crossing the yellow lane as well. And if that was helpful or not, it's what we want to have a conversation and with the people. If that's another step to try to clear out the traffic and speed it up.
So, I mean, I agree, I also agree with Kelly's opinion on the police department that isn't really the issue. I mean, don't get me wrong, it stinks for the 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the afternoon for the cars and so and I'm able to get out and take a right all the time because I know my corners and my vehicle and whatever. I know how to drive and I go But I think the bigger issue is on Central, and it's that left-hand turn coming from Dover into Newman during the morning, and because that's where you get the but what is the feasibility of a dedicated left-hand lane?
So if you look so I've measured it right at the exit. It's 30 feet face the curb, So this is where the turning lane would be.
Yeah.
We could remove the grass plots. I was back to, I forget the road, it's 175 feet back. And create a lane that would probably handle about 8 cars turning into the queue. Which is a little longer, I think, than the one on West Street. I don't know if we can quite get that, but we could put one in, it's gonna be extremely tight, so we'd have to take about, on the non-pole side, a couple feet off the grass. Take the grass out and push it up closer to the pole, but that's why I'm also looking at the radius and coming out, because that moves the center line, so now when the bus comes out.
Yeah.
They're about 11 or 12 feet. So it's gonna move the center line over big time. So it might be a combination.
I see that, yeah.
So that you get the turning movements for vehicles.
Yeah.
Because cars will be parked there, right in the middle of the road, basically,
Yes,
and it's gonna be really tight, so that's why I was also looking at. Fixing that radius, moving it out, so that you have much more ability to do so.
so you're pushing the granite curb back to the sidewalk itself, the pavement.
That would be
Essentially
part of the
moving the curb.
recommendation
Yeah.
to, we can't do it, it's only 30 feet, so
Yeah.
that's 10, 10, 10. Turning lane left, 10 feet's fine, but as a passing lane, it's really with the paint, you're only at like 9 something.
No, I agree that, I
Really
like,
tight.
I was wondering about, I actually started looking it up and actually you have it in town, like on Linden Street in front of High Rock, it actually is, there's no berm, it's just you know, I was wondering, does there need to be a berm? No, there usually doesn't, and so I think that's how to get more.
Yes, and luckily the poles, we could go, you're supposed to stay 2 feet off the pole,
Mhm.
but everywhere. And trees, right? So my thought was to do both sides, you get an extra 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah.
Move the drainage, go back to that side street and then, so, and.
So
we'd
it'd be
have
a
to
Gay
also
Street
go
then, right?
towards
Or-
Great Plain,
Yeah,
because we're
right.
shifting the lanes over.
Mhm.
And that's all clear.
I think
So to get a couple feet to shift it, now the cars in the middle, the exit coming out for a bus, they're not gonna make it because the yellow was shifting the cars over, I think.
We like to get 6 feet for the sidewalk if you're not using a berm.
6
So-
feet,
Yeah. So I mean, I think we've gone down to 5, but. You know, 6
Yeah,
feet.
Tom, do you think we don't have the real estate here because of the poles too? Very.
Yeah. That was part of the problem before. I think we looked at doing a turn lane, just wasn't enough. But
Yep.
if you're able to shave off, I'm not sure what we have for room. On the school side. We could take a look at the, take a look at the layout. And see if there's a way to get some pedestrian safety on the right side. If you want to do a turn lane, how many cars do you think queue up here? That we need to,
It's that, I have no idea.
Oh, like I mean,
Go
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the property.
to going into the school, I mean, it's it's probably, I mean, you'd have to have someone count, but I think that it's for like 15 minutes, probably a majority of the cars that are trying to take a left in there.
It's kind of what I was wondering is that, would you go through all this to then realize like. You're queuing, but then you're still backed up because everybody's making the left.
And the queue length is too long.
But
Yeah.
there are a lot of folks that come, I mean, that live in Medfield and live in Dover and go to Boston. And this is the only way that they do. And I think
Right.
that there's significant traffic that does go straight.
Yes, I agree.
You know, that would be served better if we could.
Like spreads it out a little bit.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think it's not just like, we think about school time, but also Newman right now is the only theater complex. It's the only, you know, it is used for other events throughout the year that do crowd that area.
Yeah,
Outside the
yeah.
normal drop off and pick up, because I agree with you that this is a lot for 15 minutes, 2 times a day. But I also think that it's more than 2 times a day. You know,
Yeah.
it's spread out there, you know.
So I would think, Tom's on the line that we'd have to do a study.
Yeah.
Is it a cost benefit? Is it worth it? Widening, yes, those houses with the little grass plots, might totally oppose. Pushing it, it's still our property. It's very tight and if it requires poles moving, that's just problematic.
Yeah, no,
It takes years.
Does the majority of the Newman school, like, what's? You're familiar? Is it from this side of town? Like, are you from Great Plain Ave over? Cause I just so way outside the box here, I was wondering that walking path that comes down from. Great Plain Avenue, I don't know why that is, but has it ever been explored as to? Giving another alternative to feed that parking lot? Like would that ever be wide enough where you? You could send people, if you pave that into a roadway,
I think,
or am I'm thinking I'm way outside the
I
box,
think
but
it's
like.
drops like 10 feet.
Yeah, there's a stairway. There's a
Oh,
stairway
that's
from
right.
Great Plain going
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
It's an elevation challenge.
Okay.
That was a challenge.
I mean,
Between the
so
two houses.
I have to tell you, so I live on, I mean, so it's actually closer if I drop off my daughter. And come down High Rock or come down and then take a right and take a left. But what I do in the morning, I can get in faster by going up Great Plain and then coming up Central.
Sure.
Because there's less traffic.
Right.
You know what I mean? I coming there.
Yeah.
Versus it's back so far up, all up the High Rock, all the
Yeah.
way up to the almost where Gay Street is, honestly, sometimes in the morning coming
Oh,
into the
sure.
cars will be parked up or that next street that.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if there was an alternative to send them, people who live on that
Yeah.
side, like kind of split it, but I get that's a whole other.
It would also
host of,
affect
like-
drive line like no one's
Right.
business, because
Right.
people would, it actually has a good, I mean, that's a massive
Oh, it's a
parking lot.
huge drive.
It's- They, because of COVID, they changed some things, and I think it worked by doing a double drive line and.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's remember that.
Schools
As I said,
and-
yeah.
So they were able to take the part, what's that?
Said school dismissal manager.
And the people at the historical park, anyways, but so, yeah, I mean, obviously, we're supportive of, I mean, I can't speak to the whole committee, but I'm supportive of you guys looking and exploring that,
Oh, yeah.
but I think that a study would, should evaluate what the value is, but I think that residents of Dover and Medfield will support that.
Yeah.
Cause it
It's
is the
so
only-
improved now that I think they're not going down GPSs and redirecting them to neighborhood streets anymore. So that safety goal is terrific. It's just trying to help here.
Mhm.
Adding a lane, Tom, is that more safe or less safe for in front of the school with all the chaos here? But we kind of like we need this.
I would still think we just need some traffic calming because, you don't want to have someone zipping through on the right side while kids are crossing and so,
Speed.
I'd even think about, is there possibilities of doing a zipper lane during school? If we're able to do that, slow down the traffic, let them cross, but if we widen up the road slightly and then create the lanes during the drop offs. I mean, it's a huge maintenance issue, but
It's a little pedestrian.
Pedestrian, right.
And we could also look into a speed table, like they have that on Needham Street or Dedham, no. It's in the Dedham School
Yeah,
area, I think
yeah.
when it's after that rotary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those ones where like, you're not gonna damage your car going, but it's enough that, oh, I gotta slow down, you can, sign it enough people slow. But I think and some sort of redesign should maybe include some sort of vertical deflection.
Along with trying to do the left turn lane thing.
Mhm.
Yes, that's.
It's not separate from.
Correct, yes, no,
Yeah.
yes, looking at that and not just doing the left-hand lane, but looking at doing a calming mechanism, I think,
Yeah.
is something other towns are having success in doing it.
So doing these geometric improvements in design and engineering, there's a lot in the queue. So we're talking fairly long term.
Mhm.
On this, if it was to go, Tom would decide with his team and report back. What the results are, if it's worth it and they can actually configure it.
But since it's such a straight line. I mean, a tangent piece of roadway. I mean, as long as you have the right of way, you can play around with it, what you have. So I mean, I think short-term exercise, I don't want to work with anybody, but on the short-term exercise. To see what the geometrics work, if that's a possibility. I mean, it doesn't answer the questions about the transitions back to standard.
Mhm.
But at least you know if you have the width to do this, to put a turn lane in and to grab, let's say, the grass and to do what you do with the mailboxes and what you have to do with that pedestrian, there's a lot of stuff there.
Mhm.
You know, is it all going to fit?
Right,
I'm just wondering as a short-term solution that, no, the short-term exercise to see how that works. Unless you've done it before.
yeah, on the planning, it says it's 50-foot town layout, is that correct, Tom? That's what I saw, right in this area, which is the same all the way to Newton that we
Sure.
looked at. But on the Winnie School, the sidewalk is pushed onto the property,
Sure.
right? So, right, it's a little different.
So I understand what Gus is saying. Could you ever? Not an engineer.
Yeah, it is a 50 layout. It is a 50-foot layout.
You took out the berm.
Thank you.
If you took out the berm on that side. And not. Again, it's not like engineering. If you took out the berm and just brought like. To the edge of the sidewalk. Would that be enough room to get 2 cars by without making a turning lane? So I guess what I'm saying is, could you sneak cars through?
Artificially
Yeah.
have a left turn lane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, it would be 30, we'd probably gain 2.
Uh,
But when Tom's saying we want the sidewalk to be with the curbing about 6 feet typically, it just gets too tight.
oh,
Is that right, Tom?
That includes the curb, right?
Yeah, so we've done that over at Central Ed Honeywell, where there's not enough room for 2 lanes. But kind of widen it up a little bit and then let drivers, you know, be courteous. Allow people, right?
yeah, yeah,
Well, and I also, I do think that if you do widen this and basically you bring cars that are now going to say that I can go, I can turn around to pass somebody. Closer to people on the sidewalk, vertical deflection has to be implemented, you know what I mean, there, you have to slow people down. You know, because I think that's if, oh, I'm gonna pass them, but you're now there's nothing between, there's a curb now between the kids and,
Right
you know, a car, so. That's why having some sort of speed table, having something to slow people down in that area, I think is, you know. So if we were doing the cheaper, because speed tables, they can be. Permanent installations, or they can be, you know, there's modular ones that do go in there. You know, you can remove and all that, but some sort of vertical deflection to slow down cars, especially if you're removing berm.
Big time.
So if we say 50, just as, gives me 50 minus 12, 2 6s. Then you have 38 feet, right? For 3 lanes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but then I'm forgetting about the shoulder too.
The fog lines.
Yeah, I mean, the right-hand shoulders, yes.
I think the layout does it. I think the sidewalk, I think there's a lot of encroachment of probably private property here. Cause I don't think it's 10 feet. I didn't measure it from the face of curb to those trees and bushes.
Yeah,
I think they're on town property.
oh, I see.
So now we can go, okay, we're gonna rip out all your.
Yeah, but are these people happy with that? What do they say?
I have no idea, but I wouldn't.
So
So
that public
I think
hearing might
that's
be
part of
interesting.
it.
Justin, are you ready to?
There's no way that's 10 feet, that's a 4.5 foot sidewalk, 2
Yeah.
feet, so that might be, so there might be 2 feet more of our property there,
Yeah.
same on the school side, that's not 10 feet back. So, we ran into the same thing on Central Ave towards the last phase of our project. And at some point, on doors, and people were actually pretty good, we wanna get you grass plots. You have 3 or 4 feet on, take your fence down, please. Most of them were terrific. A couple of people weren't financially in the position to. Some seniors, we quickly did it and we moved it back.
Yeah.
And adjusted so we would have the proper layout to get the sidewalks wide enough to plow in the future to help accommodate walkers up there. So it's We didn't have enough real estate, so it's similar here, but not as bad. Up there it was 3 or 4 feet encroachment.
So I mean, I
All
think,
that tree line would go.
I think you guys need to take an actual study and see, are we trying to fix something that's not broken? You know what I mean? Like, is the issue, how far back are the cars? You know, what is the volume of cars that are actually going to Newman on any given day versus straight? You know, actual seeing what that is, seeing if there is actual, other than anecdotal, which, you know, there's a whole variety of reasons why, you know. But having some data then to then behind a decision to start a study, you know what I mean? Once you get an engineering study, then you determine, you know, like,
Is there a traffic control officer or
2.
right out in front there?
Yeah, I think the the state through an audit found out that one was inadequate. And so there's 2.
This is a rough area.
Oh, well, I was gonna say too,
It is.
it's one thing going in, you drop your kid off, but then when you wanna come out, you wanna take a left. I mean, I could imagine it's bedlam.
And even what happens is, they still can't monitor everything, because there are, if you were at that, if you wanna take a right. They can't see you, they shouldn't be seeing you, because they're looking at kids, they're looking at, you know, there's so many things going on there that they need to control entry, both by pedestrians, bikes. And cars, that they actually can't even monitor the easy out to the right, you know what I mean, and I know them both well, and we. Yeah, this is every day, but like I said, you know. I think there is value in looking at it, but I think it needs to be looked at holistically, rather than just widening the. Driveway, but I think we need to kind of look, and the school buses and the turn radiuses and all of that stuff, and. Yeah.
So longer term,
And-
needs to be studied and.
I think speed wise too on here, like not excluding the when the crossing guards are there, this is actually a pretty fast road. You know, because I go there to pick up the kids, and before the crossing guards are all there, it's 3:10, so I'll get there at, like, you know, 2:55, because I'll talk to people. And just waiting at the crosswalk, activating RFBs, people are going, and I don't know how fast, I haven't gone through training in determining speed, but, you know, they're exceeding 30. You know, on there, I'll tell you that.
And they're in a school zone.
Yes, yeah, and that's the other thing,
That's the scary thing.
we also, and this is the other committee to kind of come up with policy, but we have 6 school zones, and they're all different signs. They're all, so I think I saw, you know, there's some have because they all have different. funding. They all came through different funding sources at different time. So I think we need to look at, the town needs to look at actually standardizing what a school zone is and what that looks like. You know, and also encompassing the fact that we now have other schools that are eligible for school zones. Because they change it now, so actually kindergarten, you could actually, Tobin could be a school zone, where Tobin Bidet is, by the police station. That could be it.
Walker.
Or Walker, yes, I mean, there are, so, but that's a tangent, I think we need to take a look at and standardize. What our school zone looks like with what kind of, and remove that illegal. 20-mile-an-hour school days,
Not
So-
illegal, non-regulatory.
yes, not illegal, correct. Not MUTCD approved,
Yeah, there you go.
so, okay. Look forward to hearing updates as that, I don't think anything needs to be done. Were you looking for anything from the committee on this? It was just
No,
a-
I was wondering if low hanging fruit was to widen it, and it sounds, it's adequate, just let it go.
Yeah, I mean, it
And then
might,
look at the whole,
it might improve one entry into there, but I don't know if it'll actually, you could have knockoff implications, you know, you might be creating more of a problem than you're trying to fix,
well,
but
just, everybody's used to it, leave it.
yes, so,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. But I think this should be on some sort of plan for future, improvements.
Yeah, we have the design coming forward on the Great Plain at Central intersection, the traffic signal. So Ryan was just mentioning about how we changed the timing. But we have the design, GPI is doing the design for the new traffic lights. And that is gonna be scheduled for construction in fiscal year 26. So not this coming year, but the year after. We looked at doing a roundabout in the area, just don't have enough room. So it looks like we would do a slight taking of the church property.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could share my screen. I can show you the concept.
Sure, and so we'll see if we can pull that up.
To be able to now.
Yes, okay. Okay,
You see it, it's just.
I'm not sure, I just got muted accidentally. Can you see this?
yeah, we can see it, yes. Yeah, all right, okay, here, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a concept plan. This is with, you know, so I don't have all the details on it, but they wanted to do a turn lane. So this sidewalk right here, there used to be a tree here. And that got removed, that caused the sidewalk to bend around it. This is slightly on church property, so it looks like there's like perhaps an 8-foot taking, 8 to 10 feet. And that would become a turn lane, a right turn lane for Great Plain Avenue. Similar layout coming up Central, changing the crosswalk. There's really not a lot we can do as far as roundabouts. I think the next page shows a roundabout. Yeah, here it is. I mean, we would have to take the whole church property. Looks like. It really is a pinch point. It is wide in some areas, but the pinch point is between the two intersections here. So we're proceeding with a plan similar to this. You know, requires still some work on it, but it should probably be finished sometime in the spring or the summertime for you know, and perhaps we can get perhaps we can get like a 25% just so that we can review it again. And I think that's something the select board probably want to see too before we go to construction anyways.
Sure. So is it coming from Wellesley, it's 3 lanes, right, left and a straight?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I just didn't see a black arrow. Yeah.
Yeah. Here are the arrows.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the start of it.
All right. Well, I appreciate, yeah, no, thanks for keeping us in the loop on that. Any questions from anybody? No, it's all right. And Tom, thank you. I did see the new light head that's in front of Cabela's.
Yep.
I did see that. Thank you for kind of pursuing that. And I think it actually does brighten up that area. I think that it, to the point where we may need to take a look at some of the other high hazard crosswalks, because that was in the GPI study. That said that lighting was something that, you know, could be improved, and, you know, now that we know that we have a proof of concept that we can get a you know, perhaps a higher output light head, perhaps we could see what crosswalks we can do, or what crosswalks we can do to brighten up now. I know certain other crosswalks, it might not work because of the proximity of the utility poles to where the actual crosswalk is, but it's worth exploring, I think.
I agree, and I can turn up the intensity on that one as well. I've driven by there a few times at night to take a look, and it seems like it does a pretty good job, so.
I definitely think so.
So, yeah, I have my mind set on taking a look at some of the other crosswalks and the one on Dedham Avenue, that we haven't created yet.
Yep.
Thinking that's an opportunity right there. That's probably one that should definitely be, brighter. Especially
And I think
for
on Webster too, the two on Webster. As well. But yeah, so, great, I appreciate, I just wanted to mention that, I did see that, and, I think it did make an improvement.
Okay, good.
So, unless there's anything else, I can entertain a motion for adjournment. All right, so, seconded, excellent, and all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.